Let's go make 5 pounds of challah. You'll need a scale to weigh out all your ingredients. Very large mixing bowl, bread flour, sugar. This is a very sweet challah dough, like my wife likes. Salt, neutral oil, you can use margarine, eggs, yeast, 2 baking pans, water. I preheated this to be between 85 and 95 degrees. I'm trying to do this all in one day, and I want the yeast to work a little bit faster. Make sure this gets zeroed out, and let's go add. This is a very rich challah dough, so I will start off with 910 grams of water. Doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but should be pretty darn close. And I like to mix and if you ever want to correct, let's call that a victory. In oil, 95 grams or thereabouts. Feel free to go less, but it gives it a nice, soft, velvety texture. 5 eggs, 45 grams of salt, that's a couple tablespoons, a lot of sugar. My wife likes this recipe very sweet. I've been making this for probably 10 or 15 years. This is 440 grams of sugar. Wow, that is awfully sweet and very delicious. "15 grams of vanilla, that'll be good enough, and a healthy sprinkle of cinnamon, just about 1 gram. You don't have to go crazy with this. I don't want it to be a dessert. Before we add any flour, let's give it a little mixing or whisking. If you have a whisk, it'll be easier. Just try to combine these solids into the liquid so that when we add the flour, it'll be a more smooth process to mix it all up. 5-pound bag of flour. Add this in. Yeast, 38 to 40 grams of yeast. Again, this is a single day rise, so there is a decent amount of yeast in this recipe. And it's fairly forgiving if you don't get it exactly right, but be closer to 30. Take this off the scale whenever you need with a K. Set up a little timer. Let's give this a real quick mix, 2 to 3 minutes, just to get everything combined, and then we'll knead it, then we'll rest it, and then we'll knead it. Dough scraper if you like it. Feel free to use your hands. If you have an electric mixer, use it. I don't. At least, I don't have one big enough for 5 pounds of challah. Again, this is just to get everything mixed. Then we'll rest it. And since I'm at kind of the limit of my dough scraper, I'm just going to get my hands wet. And then I'm going to go finish kneading this by hand. That is the 1 minute left of a 3-minute timer, just to get it combined. You see it's starting to get a little more dough-like. Hands are not that dirty from the dough. And I'm just kind of, at this point, pushing down and turning the whole bowl because it's just easier to move. So if you've been doing this on your regular countertop, you may notice that your bowl makes a lot of dirt on your counter. You'll have to just take a sponge and clean that off. Best thing to do is actually, if you're going to be moving the bowl around, just do all your kneading on top of a dishcloth or a paper towel. That way your countertop will stay clean. So all we're going to do now, it's been combined for 3 minutes. We're just going to kind of cover that up, wait about 15 minutes, and then start the kneading process. It's been about 15 minutes, just letting it rest. Still kind of looks pretty, what they like to call shaggy, and if you pull on it, it rips. This is what you would call a pretty weak dough. Now this is not going to get that strong because you have a lot of sugar and oil and egg in here, so it's a very rich dough. But this needs to be kneaded for about 8 to 10 minutes by hand if you're not using a stand mixer. So let's get to it. You can do one or two things. If you have a big enough bowl, you can knead it right here in the bowl. Just give yourself a little bit of flour to dust it and you can just kind of fold. Just kind of fold, quarter turn, fold, push down, 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 quarter turn. And just repeat this. So if your bowl is big enough, you can do this in the bowl. If you prefer, you can make yourself some counter space, give yourself a little dusting so that it doesn't stick to your counter. Pull it out on your countertop. And knead. Again, quarter turn, pull, quarter turn, fold. You can even bring it out something like this. But generally, if you push down and fold, pushing down with the balls of your hand, there's lots of videos out there on how to knead dough. This is a pretty good sized dough, and you're getting everything kind of combined and around. Resist the urge to add a lot of flour because you'll change the proportions of how it's made and you'll get a little bit of a different product. Light dusting on your hand and on the challah. It's been about 10 minutes of kneading. Saw before how it kind of pulled apart. Give it a little tug. See that it's much stronger now. Let's see if it gives you a little bit of a window. And this is a pretty rich dough, so I don't expect a lot of window pane test here if you're familiar with that. But it's not so bad. Not so bad. So what I'm going to do, just kind of fold it in. I'm not sure this is terribly necessary, but I'm just tucking in the ends, making a little bit of a ball, like you might do with pizza balls. Or let's oil the bowl, just keep it from drying out too much. And just spreading the oil around a little bit. So what I'm going to do is let this rest for about another 30 minutes. I'm going to give it another fold, and then we're going to let it proof. It's been half an hour. Looks very nice. I'm just going to give this a little bit of what they call the strength building. Let's take this out and give it a little stretch and fold. Again, so pull one end kind of as far as it'll go without tearing. Repeat on the other side. At the other end, one more end, and just kind of tuck them all back in. And then let's seal up the bottom. Again, I'm kind of keeping the bottom the same as it was. This was the top, and this is the bottom here. Kind of sealing that up. Yeah, I'm not sure we need to do this completely, but I kind of like a little stronger challah dough. Looking nice and smooth. Let's put that back in the bowl and let it rise until we're ready to fresh as challah and start proofing and shaping. After about an hour, this is puffed up real nice. Ooh. This is after hafrashas challah. Thank you to my wife. Now let's find out how much it weighs and divide it into 18 dough balls for rising. This should weigh about 4 kilos. Let's take a look. If you want to go old school, this is my calculator from high school. All your dough balls should be about 216 grams. Now let's cut about 216 grams out of the dough. Again, take your balance, get it back to grams if you're working in grams. Weigh it out, adjust as necessary. I'm just using a dough cutter to kind of cut a few extra pieces. Once we get it as close as we can, we'll then combine it into a new roll. Let's just put it together, making a small pre-shaped roll, and moving on to all the next ones. We're going to do that process about another 17 times and get it ready to rest and then be rolled out. So we're just, again, repeating the same process from 5 pounds of dough, getting approximately 217 grams, plus or minus some is just fine, until we have completed all our dough. Take your parchment paper to line your baking sheets. Just kind of generally measure to the size of your baking sheet. If it doesn't lay flat, which it almost never does, the internet says to crumple it up and then lay it back flat so it won't re-roll. So go ahead and do that for all your parchment paper. Set it up so you can then receive your challahs. Straighten it out. Now let's get to rolling. These are the pre-shaped rolls we did before. They've been resting for a little while. We're just going to clean up the surface a little bit, make sure that nothing's sticking to the counter. And then we're just going to roll it out, kind of use your fingertips and then the balls of your palms. Just kind of roll it out into about 10-12 inch rolls. Could be a little bit longer, a little thinner, depending how long you like how much twist you want on your challahs. I probably do it about a foot long or so, then twirl it around, tuck the other end underneath, and then place on your baking sheet with enough room for all of them to rise. So let's repeat that again. It's about 17 times, rolling, 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 until we have gotten everybody to the length and shape we like. I happen to be a little bit lazy, and I make round challahs almost year-round because it's just a lot faster than braiding. Sorry, just happened to be that way. That's just kind of the shape that they're almost always in. Usually right before Rosh Hashanah, I might actually braid them, but pretty much they're round because they just go a lot faster, and I only have so much patience. Now, let's get a little egg wash ready. So let's crack an egg into a cup, add a pinch of sugar, and that'll just kind of help the browning process along while it's in the oven as well, and it gives you a nice little sweetness on the outside. Go ahead and grab a fork and mix that up so that it's all well combined. Just make sure that there's no runny parts and that it actually is well combined, or else it'll kind of be a little stringy. Use a baster to kind of go ahead and just baste all of them. Just be liberally apply and do it for all of their challahs, and then just let them aside to rise. This will dry. If you like a thicker coat, a thicker crust, you can let them dry for maybe half an hour or so. Baste them one more time before they go in the oven. I do it before this final proofing, and they seem to be just fine. So, but experiment, see what you like. Now, let's get it in the oven. This is a 350 degree oven. I put it in for 20 minutes, and then after that 20 minutes is up, I will take them out. So they're about halfway done right now. I'll take them out, give them rotate them about 180 degrees, and then also switch top to bottom. So they're kind of fully changing positions in the oven. Again, top to bottom, and then I move them and I rotate them around so that the fronts and the backs are also switched. Another 15 minutes on 350 degrees, and that should be about it. And look at those challahs coming out of the oven. These look fantastic. Oh, if you were here, you would be hard-pressed to resist trying one of these right now. So let's get all that beeping off. Put the challahs out here to cool. You can transfer these to a cooling rack in a few minutes. But right now, let's just take a look at the final product. They smell wonderful. L'kavod Shabbos Kodesh.